Thomas Hobbes, born in Westport, England, in 1588 and died in Hardwicke Hall in 1679, was a prominent English philosopher. Raised by his uncle after his father, a clergyman, left the family following an altercation in front of his church, Hobbes received his education at Magdalen Hall, Oxford. Starting in 1608, he worked for the Cavendish family, serving as a tutor for one of their sons. During his employment, he traveled through France and Italy between 1608 and 1610 with his student. Following the death of his pupil in 1628, Thomas Hobbes returned to France to work with Gervase Clifton. He stayed there until 1631, when the Cavendish family called him back to tutor another son. In 1634, during a trip through Europe with his new student, Hobbes had the opportunity to meet Galileo, René Descartes, Pierre Gassendi, and other notable thinkers and scientists. He returned to England in 1637, but due to the political tensions that were a prelude to the Civil War, he decided to move to Paris in 1640. Before leaving, he shared a manuscript of his Elements of Natural and Political Law with friends, which would later be published in 2 parts in 1650. In Paris, he began to disseminate his philosophical system, starting with De Cive in 1642. Hobbes left France in 1651 and returned to England with the manuscript of Leviathan, his most famous work, which would be published in London that same year. In 1655, he published the first part of the Elements of Philosophy, and in 1658, the second, thus completing a trilogy that had begun with De Cive. After the monarchical restoration of 1660, Hone enjoyed the favor of the crown, but accusations of atheism by the church led him to withdraw from public life. In his later years, he translated Homer's Iliad and Odyssey into verse and wrote an autobiography in Latin in verse form. Hobbes died on December 4, 1679, at the age of 91 in Derbyshire, England.